Hi everyone, this video is only on your final presentation. If after you watch it you still have questions, please make sure you ask. So I'm going to go into the information area in your board and pull up the final project. So here's what you see when you open the final project, the directions. So each of you is doing a project, and one of the key points to this project is it's to the population or community you chose. The reason you're doing this is to get practice in how to get information across to populations who are at risk. It's much easier to make a slide presentation to us about something, but this is going to be made to your population. So no matter what you are creating it for a specific population. This is also important because what you put into something for teens or adults or middle-aged adults or older adults would be different. Based on what your topic is, what you put in for different races would be different. So keep in mind that you want this item that you're creating to be something that is specific to your population. If it's not specific to your population, you will lose points. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to submit your project to the discussion board. And I can show you that discussion board in a second. You're going to submit 2 or 3 items. You're going to submit your project or a link to your project. If it's a link, please make sure we can get to it. You're going to submit a short paper that's 1/2 to 1.5 pages, double space, 12-point font. And you can either put your reference list with that short paper, or you can make your reference list in APA in a separate document. If you are in a major that does not use APA, just put at the top of the reference list what format you're using so I know how to score the formatting that you're using. Most of you in the class are in a field that uses APA. So let's look at part 1, the short paper. This paper has 2 sections, and as I said, it's 2 to 5 paragraphs or 1/2 to 1.5 pages long, double spaced. So the first thing you're going to tell the group is you're going to tell the group who you're reporting to. What is this project that you've created? Who is it for? So it could be for healthcare workers, college students, white rural men, middle-aged African-American women, urban teens, but you need to tell us who the audience is for your project, because that helps people understand what you did and why you did it. Then you're going to explain why you made the choices to cover 1, 2, and 3 in the project below. Excuse me, my computer is doing weird things. So this is important because what you put in your artifact will be different for different groups. And it's also important for all of us to know why you chose what you did. And in your artifact, 1, 2, and 3 tells you the content that you need to cover. And you're explaining here why you chose the items you chose for the content. That's the first part of it, the introduction. The second part of the paper is called supporting information, and this includes a very brief statement, 1 to 3 paragraphs, that explains why you chose the topic. You need to understand that everyone in the class is going to read what you write. So you need to be careful to write something that you want them to read. I always use the example of being raped. If you were raped or sexually assaulted and you chose that topic because you personally were raped, but you don't want to share that level of detail with the class, then you could simply say, I chose this topic because I know someone who was raped. Simple. That's a true statement. So just be careful what you put out there in this section because everyone will read it. You're going to talk about the questions are listed here, which you talk about in this section of the paper. why you chose the topic, what you hope to gain, why this group, why this genre, and did you get what you wanted out of the project. Again, this short paper is short. It's 1/2 to 1.5 pages long. As people are reviewing each other's projects, if someone writes something longer than 1.5 pages double spaced, you do not need to read the whole document. So then you're going to have a reference list. It says that most of you will be using APA. If you use a different style, you need to put that at the top of the list. A guide to this would be 5 to 10 items. It's possible you have fewer than 5, although highly unlikely. And it is possible you might have more than 10. The 5 to 10 is a guide. More is not better. You need to think about what you've been submitting in your checkpoints. Think about the items you've used and include those items that you've actually used in creating this project. And the last thing is the part 2 is the artifact. So you have part 1, which is the short paper divided into 2 sections, this section and this section. And then you will submit your artifact. And the artifact, no matter what you're doing, has to include all of the same content. You've been getting feedback on this. If you're not sure, please make sure you reach out and ask. And make sure you understand what needs to be covered. For example, prevention might look different for some of you than others. Some of you might not have prevention. So make sure you've been reviewing the comments you've received back on your checkpoints 1 and 2. So then the rest of this just tells you examples of what you might do. The other thing I want to talk about is let me go back here. I want to talk about the scoring tool, and that can be found in Unit 4. So let's look at Unit 4, Special Topics. Hopefully you've already watched the video on Units 3 and 4. So here is where you're going to submit your peer and self-evaluation. So you don't submit your project here. That's in the discussion board. The only thing you're going to submit here are your peer and self-evaluations. There's always a varying number of people in the class and a varying number of people who drop. I think 2 people have dropped, so that puts us to 14 people. But between now and the end of the semester, more people might drop. I never know. That's why when you open up the self and peer scoring tool, you're going to first score yourself for out of 5 possible points. And then you must review every single post that was put in there on time. If you finish scoring and somebody submits something late, you're not required to go back and look at it. I think there's 9 or 10 of these. If you need 13 or 14, just copy it and put it at the end or make another document. I don't care, but every single person in the discussion board on time, that posts on time, must be reviewed. Note that it says when you are peer reviewing, you need to give your name, the person you're scoring, their topic, and their genre or format. What happens is I will take your name out of here, and everything you write I will copy and paste and give to the person. So each person should get at least 10 sets of these giving feedback. Very important, it says to list the score you give them, and you must leave comments in at least 3 of the rows. If you do not do that, you will lose points off of your score from me. The other thing is, you need to make sure that you actually review all the documents. Every now and then a student doesn't take the time to review them and just fills these out. And it's very clear when you do not watch something. For example, if 10 of you watch something or review a brochure or whatever, and 8 of you say that there's no social determinants of health in the brochure, and 2 of you say they did a great job on that, clearly 2 of you have not looked at the brochure. So please make sure you look at the brochure. Each item should take you 10 minutes or less to review and score. So there's 14 of you. 10 minutes each is 140 minutes. That's a little more than 2 hours, and that's the maximum amount of time it will take for you to review every single item. The other thing, that's the peer and self item. And then I want to go down, I want to go up and show you the teacher scoring tool so you're clear on what I'm grading. Did you follow the directions in the content, length, and format of your specific area? So for example, if you create a brochure and it's 3 pages of narrative and there's no photos or anything, that's problematic. Nobody wants to read that. Did you include that 1 to 3 or 2 to 5 paragraphs that fully explain why you did what you did? Is the content accurate for history, policy, and law? Does it cover everything you should cover? Did you explain 3 of the SDOH fully? If you cover 5 and 2 are wrong, then I count 2 of the 3 as wrong. You only need to cover 3. Make sure what you cover is accurate in what you're describing. Did the artifact do what it should have with the audience, whatever the audience is that you're trying to reach? And then sources, are they strong and reliable sources? And do you have APA in the correct format? Or if you're using another format like MLA or Chicago, whatever it is you're using, is it in the correct format? So that's how I score it. And I will be adding something at the bottom that says you did not complete your peer reviews correctly, or you did not watch all the peer reviews and you will lose points if you don't fill out the form fully, or it's clear that you really didn't watch them. So that is the final project. There's several pieces to it. Please review it. If you have questions at any time, please email me. I'm more than happy to respond to emails, or if you want to set up a time to talk by phone or on a web meeting, I'm happy to do that as well. I hope you have a good time with these projects. They're usually a lot more fun to do than a written paper, and it is a lot more fun for your peers to review what you've done. This gives all of you the chance to learn what the other students in the class have been working on all semester, so that you can see different aspects to different diseases that impact women's health. Have a great week, and I will be reading your information soon.